Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and my little silver dog. You see, I did a video earlier this morning, and the back end of it, the sound died on the outro. Couldn't work out why. And I was away from home when people started pointing it out. And then I came home, and I gave a little inspection down below here, where all the wires are, and where this little monster likes to sit when I'm filming. And it turns out that this little monster had wrapped himself around the cables, and when he got up, he'd yanked them out. Never mind, I haven't punished him. I haven't beaten him too hard. He'll have a biscuit in a minute. He's my best bud. This is my... Hey? Anyway, time to go. So say goodbye. Okay. He's off. He's gone off for a grouch. Anyway, this video, now that I've got that explanation out of the way, is all about Colin Beattie, the man with the worst memory in the world. Unless he hasn't. Because yesterday he claimed one thing, and today he's claiming the complete opposite. It's amazing, a complete volte-face in 24 hours. We have to wonder how much legal advice he's taken in those 24 hours. But he's gone from not knowing about the motorhome to knowing all about the motorhome in such a short period of time. It's amazing how Alzheimer's can suddenly reverse like that. We'll take a look at this article and see why he suddenly changed his mind about the things he can remember. And will this cause worry for Sturgeon and Murrell if this man suddenly remembers a lot of things he claimed to have forgotten? Let's have a look. Right, so this first little article, which I'm not going to go through the whole article, I'm just using this as the example, as the thing to sort of get this journey of the reverse ferret by Colin Beattie. So this was in the Herald yesterday, and the headline really sums it up. SNP Treasurer Colin Beattie, and he's quoted as saying, "I didn't know about the £110,000 motorhome." There's a picture of him denying everything. Denying 3 times before the cock crows, perhaps. He could end up not being Peter the Rock, being more Judas the traitor, I think. But the SNP, I'm not going in, but the SNP's former treasurer has said he didn't know about the party's purchase of the £110,000 luxury motorhome seized from Nicola Sturgeon's mother-in-law. And I still think it's weird. Why not just say Peter Murrell's mother? Colin Beattie made the statement as he spoke to media on his way to the weekly meeting of the SNP MSPs at Holyrood, and then it just goes on about things that have happened, and that's fine. I'm not going to go into this particular bit. This was yesterday. This was dated, as you see here on the top left, the 25th of April. This was yesterday's paper. Today's chip wrapper, right? Mind you, it was the last time you saw chips actually wrapped in newspaper, but you get the gist. So that's there. So that's all very fine and pleasant. So now let's have a look at today's newspaper, and for this we're going to go to the Scotsman. So, former SNP Treasurer Colin Beattie clarifies he did know about the party's £110,000 motorhome. Well, blow me down with a feather. The man either lied yesterday or he's lying today. Which do you think it is? Well, I think it's fairly obvious that he damn well did know, and that yesterday was a complete lie. And I suspect that legal advice was, no, you must suddenly recollect that you knew about it, because your hands, your fingerprints will be all over this, your name will be on things, you will be so implicated that by denying it, it will make you look worse. And so all of a sudden it's, oh, no, I suddenly remembered spending £110,000 on a motorhome. Oh, it's such a little trivial matter. It completely, evaporated from my mind. What a lying bastard this man really is. Anyway, the SNP's former treasurer has clarified, apparently that's the word they're using now, clarified, not about turn, not reverse ferret, not admitted he lied, clarified. That's the weasel words they're using now. When he found out about the SNP had acquired a £110,000 motorhome after earlier saying he had no knowledge of the vehicle's purchase. Yeah, it was probably at the time when he wrote the bloody cheque, Asked if he knew about the camper van purchase and if he signed it off, Colin Beattie told journalists on Tuesday, "No, I didn't know about it." The Niesman and Bischoff vehicle, which can sell for as much as 110,000, was seized by police from the home of Peter Murrell's mother. Stop saying Nicola Sturgeon's mother-in-law. Anyway, they've got to do everything to try and crowbar Nicola Sturgeon in case people haven't heard of Peter Murrell. Trust me, everyone is hearing about Peter Murrell. Anyway, this was at the same time he was in custody at the home he shares with the former First Minister, which was being searched by police at the time. Mr. Murrell, blah, 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 all about him being arrested and released. In a statement issued on Tuesday, Mr. Beattie said, "This afternoon, I was asked if I knew about the motorhome purchase, to which I answered no. Given some of the coverage of this answer, I believe it's important to clarify that I was unaware of the transaction at the time of purchase. I became aware of the transaction via the 2021 annual accounts." It's a bit weaselly, isn't it? He said he didn't know. The question wasn't when did you know? The question was if you knew. And the answer to that, he said, was no, which is a lie, because yes, he did. So he lies. So we now know that nothing that comes out of Colin Beattie's mouth can ever be believed, because he is now a provable liar. He wasn't asked when, he was asked if, and he said no. A lie. The camper van was reportedly bought by the SNP as an election battle bus, or a bullshit bus, more like, ahead of the 2021 Holyrood election, but was never used due to COVID rules being lifted. Never used for battle busing, but often used for that pair to escape up into the Highlands on their little quest for lovers. Obviously not each other. Mr. Beattie was the SNP's National Treasurer between 2004-2020, losing the position to Douglas Chapman for 6 months until Chapman quit, obviously and famously, because no one in the party would A, let him see the books, or B, answer any of his questions. And if you are an accountant and you're asking these questions and anyone starts getting a bit evasive and a bit hidey with the facts and figures and doesn't actually want to let you see the books, then you immediately say, "I'm no longer your accountant." You walk away because you do not want to implicate yourself in any wrongdoing. And it is the only reason why accountants walk away, because accountants like money. And they don't walk away, and that's why their accountants walked away. But Douglas Chapman, I know obviously I'm only saying he's treasurer, not the accountant, but he immediately walked away because he also knew the fact that that was so shady would implicate him going forward. So he did the same thing as the accountants. He packed his bags and got the hell out of Dodge. And I don't blame him either. Or got the hell out of Dodgy, we should say. Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Baillie, who is rising, isn't she? I mean, I still can't get over how wonderful she is in this whole matter. I mean, she's terrible in other things, but for this, she's worth every penny of the entrance fee. Let's put it that way. Deputy Leader Jackie Baillie said earlier, "This is yet another bombshell revelation that lays bare the chaos at the heart of the SNP. That the treasurer of the party did not know that over 100,000 had been spent on a motorhome is mind-boggling." And of course, he did know, and this is the point. He's even now admitted he did know, even though he lied and said he didn't. This is a party in a meltdown with nothing to offer Scots. It hasn't even got anything to offer its own supporters. See the inefficient previous video, which I have still deeply apologise for, where they've denied that they've not denied, they've just said they're not repaying people. There's already, I've heard rumoured now, a couple of people have mentioned it in the comments on that video, and then somebody else did send like a message through and saying there are moves afoot to actually start a class action because there's enough ex-members, not current members, you know, unsurprisingly, but there's a few ex-members that are sort of saying, hang on a minute, no, we gave for that reason, and they're going to put it. And it only takes one person to win that case, one single person to win a fiver back because of that, and then that's it. It then becomes a fraudulent case, and they have to either repay everyone immediately, or it will go and it will be investigated for fraud, and they're crapping themselves over it. Anyway, Scottish Conservative Chairman Craig Hoy, MSP, said, before the clarification from Mr Beattie, this casual admission from Colin Beattie beggars belief. He's effectively saying, motorhome? What motorhome? He has serious questions to answer over this bombshell revelation. How on earth could someone who was treasurer, when the accounts featuring this six-figure purchase were signed off, now claim he was never aware of it? The murkiness surrounding the scandal-riddled SNP increases by the day. I worked for a company as an internal accountant for 23 years. People could walk into my office, and say, oh, do you remember that purchase of such and such? And I could point up, and we colour-coded all our filing by year. So like the reds would be 1 year, blues would be the yellows and so on. I could point up and go, red file, number 6, the invoice is in there. People looked at me and they go, how the hell do you know that? Any accountant knows that. You know everything. You sit there, you have a mind like a filing cabinet. You know where all your invoices are. You know how you coded them. You could be talking 5, 6, 7 years ago. You still know stuff. There's no way you don't know a £100,000 motorhome or where that is. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to the point of ridicule. That's how bad it is. Anyway, he repeated the call for the SNP to suspend Mr Murrell, Miss Sturgeon and Mr Beattie while the police investigation is ongoing. I would suggest suspending Humza Yousaf as well, because he is so implicated. But certainly Oswald, she needs to be completely suspended as well. She has her grubby little hands all over this as well. She was gatekeeping all of it. Speaking to journalists in the Scottish Parliament, Mr Beattie also insisted the SNP's trouble finding auditors for accounts was partly down to a market situation. Oh my God almighty. Let me speak as an expert in this field. The answer he has just given is complete and utter bollocks. And that is a technical term that we use in accounts when we hear people talk utter bollocks. Because there is no way there is a market downturn in trying to get auditors to do their books. Not a chance. They will scream. If those books are there and they can make money on them, they will take them. There is no doubt. The only problem they have getting an auditor is because those books are so damn dodgy. No one wants to put their name on it because they don't want to lose their professional standing and lose their ability to go forward as accountants in the future. If you're going to get anyone to do it, you need someone who's about to lose their license or about to retire, something like that, so it won't matter to them when they lose their license. Even then, you'd have to pay them an awful lot of money. The party's auditors quit in October and yet have to be replaced, with the SNP Westminster Group at risk of missing out on 1.2 million from Westminster authorities known as short money if it fails to submit audit accounts by the end of May. I've covered that many times. And tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. We are getting there. It'll soon be the end of May, and they won't have a hope. I mean, you're sitting there now. It's the 26th as I'm recording this. So, what, to the end of May, 5 full weeks? They've got 5 weeks to appoint auditors, get the auditors in, to look at the books, to do all the adjustments, to get them to a point where they can be presented, to get them signed off, and then to formally present them to Parliament. First presentation to the SNP, the Treasurer, whoever signs off. Second one to Parliament, and to be accepted by the 31st of March. They don't have to be presented to the auditors on the 31st of May, rather. They have to be accepted by the 31st of May. It can't be done. And so they're going to lose 1.2 million from Westminster, and they are snookered, and they lose with that all the ability to pay all their researchers and their staff and things. 25, I think they've got 25 staff on the books, and that's gone. So who's going to do the work in Westminster? No one. They'll have to do it themselves, and let's face it, they can't do it. They haven't got the talent or ability to do it. Asked by journalists why the party was having such trouble appointing new auditors, Colin Beattie said partly that's a market situation. He insisted the SNP is not in danger of going bust. Well, he insisted yesterday that he'd never heard of the motorhome. So how do we know he's telling the truth now? Well, obviously we don't, and we don't believe him. He says the SNP is in the black, and asked if the party was not going bust, he added, we are a going concern. Definitely. Well, you're going, gone. He reportedly recently told the party's ruling body the SNP could struggle to balance the books. You're going to struggle to find them the way it's going. A spokesman for the SNP said it would not be appropriate to comment on a live police investigation, but the SNP have been cooperating fully with this investigation and will continue to do so. And that is also a lie. but it is entirely appropriate to comment. The one thing that's saving them is, oh, it's a live investigation, we can't talk about it, because they know they cannot say anything. Because anything they say that is a lie will be found out and they'll be shown as liars. And anything they say is true will kill them. That will be the end of the SNP if the truth comes out. And that is why they are desperate to make sure that they can get their own auditors in and not have auditors foisted on them by the Electoral Committee. Because that truly would be the end. Anyway, I'm going to roll off, come up, and we will go to the outro, which will have sound on it this time. You know, it's funny, isn't it? One day, I know nothing. And the next day, hey, I know everything. And you can guarantee in the intervening 24 hours, he'll have had some very sharp and expensive legal advice. Possibly paid for by himself rather than the party, because I don't think he'll want the party to know what he's up to. I also suspect that he may have cut a deal. After all, he will have known everything, but he is only, the third wheel. And so there's two other people that I think the police may be more interested in getting now, possibly. There is a bigger fish, quite literally in this case, a sturgeon. And that is that if he sort of turns evidence and is promised a lighter touch, I don't know, we don't have the kind of deals they have in America. Don't have the DA cutting you a deal and immunity and things like that. But, it is a thing where, well, we can do this, 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 and this. We'll, but if you do this, we'll give you a little suspended sentence, something like that. But we need to put someone in jail. And I guarantee that it will certainly go through Beattie's head more than anyone else. And I think the problem is, he is not to be trusted. I mean, we don't trust him. You can't believe anything that comes out of his mouth. And he is a sort of a shady character. He is someone, I think, who would look after number one before anyone else. And I don't think he owes Sturgeon and Murrell an ounce of loyalty now. He is an old man. Let's face it, he's in his 70s. I'm not implying that just because you're 70 you're particularly old and doddery. But he is of an age that if he got a serious prison sentence, it would be very, very bad for him. Whereas, Murrell and Sturgeon, they're in their early and mid-50s. They could handle 20 years in prison. It won't come to that. They'll be lucky to get 20 months. But, he's got to be looking at that, Beattie. And so I think, it wouldn't surprise me if this sort of about turn that he's had could be as the back end of legal advice saying, remember it. Start remembering stuff. Start cooperating with the police. Give them everything. I'll speak to them. And we'll see if we can't get charges against you dropped. Or at least any punishment being, let's just say, more advantageage. That really wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, I still don't believe a bloody word he says. I mean, if I stood next to him, I wouldn't, if you told me it was raining, I'd sort of check for an umbrella. He's just slimy. They're all slimy, sleazy, dodgy. They're not even second-hand car salesmen. At least you walk away from a second-hand car salesman. You might have bought a rusty old bucket, but at least you've got something in your hand. With this lot, they're taking the money off you, promising you stuff, and then you get nothing. It's cons. It's an absolute con trick. Anyway, I could go on about this, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop now. Anyway, if you do like what you're seeing here on the channel, please do hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. But especially, please leave the like. That's the most important. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't forget where you leave your motorhome, and goodbye.